Hola, it's Mmusi My Money. So like last week, I kind of covered a little bit about what happens after the budget and how the money is spent. This week, I want to look at the breakdowns. Where does your money, in fact, end up being spent? So there are a couple of key things that you need to know. And I always like to make it simple. For every 1 rand that comes into South Africa, 21 cents of it goes towards debt servicing costs, which is about repayments of the credit card that is called debt in government. 61 cents of that goes towards social services, social spending, of which 70% of social spending goes actually into the learning and culture function, which is education. And then the last is about ultimately the other types of welfare, or in the main, some of the cost of employees in the public service. So let's talk a little bit about education. The total expenditure for education is about 527 billion rand. That's the learning and culture function, of which basic education gets around about 320 odd billion rands. That goes to the national government. Then that gets dispensed as transfers. 90% of it goes towards provinces. And so each provincial MEC for finance will be able to tell you in the next number of weeks what they then take from their allocation from national that tells them here's what they'll spend on education, etc. NSFAS is at about 54 billion rands, and so that's money that we use to help young people get into university. And so the learning and culture function is in total the second highest budget item when you look at it. So the government quite likes to tell everybody that in the main it spends the majority of its money, especially on social services, on learning and culture. I would argue more can be done. More can be done in cutting out what is VIP protection and funding more in education, particularly in maths and science for learners, and making sure that we are able to make sure classroom sizes are much smaller, because the more money you put into education, the less parents have to subsidize for quintile 4 and 5 education. And in schools that are no fee paying, you can make sure classroom sizes don't exceed the ratio of 1 to 30, but they become manageable in a way that a teacher can only teach 30 learners, as opposed to certain instances where a teacher is teaching 60 learners. So money and public finance in learning and culture matters. And so if the government cuts this budget, you can see what will happen. Classroom sizes become bigger, and ultimately parents have to pay more. If you want to find out more about public finance, give me a comment or comment on this section, and I'll cover it in the next weeks. We can look further at what we do on healthcare and many other aspects. I look forward to hearing from you. Moja.